Hey guys, Sean Maloney, Digital Business Masters with KaratBars. Hope you're well. Okay, this video, we're just going to have a quick chat about what it is to celebrate small victories, okay? Now, I've been involved with this project now for long enough to know that it is, first of all, very fast moving. It doesn't move in a straight line, and there's often things that mean it has to adjust in order to get to where it wants to be. Now, I always myself refer back to something called the white paper, okay? I've always used that before I got anywhere near KBC or any of these other attributes of this modern version of KaratBars. The white paper has always been my foundation. Okay, so I always say to people, if you've not read the white paper, you need to. It's not an easy read, of course it's not. It's a white paper, but you've got to go through it to understand the baseline of what this thing is trying to do. Yeah. Now, with that knowledge, in relation with the knowledge you should already be building for yourself if you're in this project already, which is basically to understand how macroeconomics operates and what it is to understand monetary history and understand what the fiat system, full fiat system is, and understand what's been going on all the way through the last 50 years under full fiat with regards to derivatives and other types of economic experimentation. Then if you know all that, then you're able to put yourself in a much stronger place when it comes to keeping yourself what I call above the canopy. Okay, way too many people in this project, quite understandably by the way, are down in the trees, constantly being buffeted about by every little thing that changes, or something that doesn't go quite right, or something that doesn't come across to them as being quite right, or some YouTuber that has done a little bit of research for a couple of weeks and is suddenly an expert on all the things that aren't right with KaratBars. You've got to distance yourself and ride above. You've got to get where the air is rare, yeah? Right above. And the only way you're going to do that is to constantly build your education, constantly put yourself in front of the project, and constantly plug in to people that you know, like, and trust, okay? And that is the only way that you're going to be able to withstand some of the changes and the attributes that go on, okay? Now, on its purest level, if all you ever want to do in this project is simply accrue physical gold, then that's what the uni level is. Just buy physical gold, exchange devaluing fiat for physical gold, if you understand why that's important, and then have that delivered periodically. That's this company in its most pure form. That's all it is. It's a way for people to get hold of gold from a trusted source that's of a certain quality, that's important, that is assayed and accredited, and you know will be worth what it's worth when you decide to cash out or liquidate, if you decide to do that in your lifetime. If you want to do that, that's all that gold is about, okay? Now, if you want to get more involved and understand the bigger plays going on, then you have to teach yourself what it's about. You have to learn what it is to not just hold gold and allow the macroeconomy of the world to influence the price of gold, which is fine. But if you want to do more than that, then you're able to own assets and then put those assets to work on your behalf inside a wider ecosystem. I liken it to owning a factory, and the gold is the foundation. What we do with all the blockchain is the walls and the roof, and we put inside those factories different mechanisms that allow value to be created inside the factory. Yeah, so you hear us talk about KaratPay or KaratBit or K-Merchant, or what's going on with the vaults, or where we are now with trader apps coming through. All these different things are machines inside your factory, and the gold that's underneath them feeds into these machines, and the machines are powered by KBC. Yeah, the electricity is KBC. And as more and more of that KBC is demanded by the machinery, then the value of KBC increases. Then you're able to take that energy and repurpose that back to create yourself a stronger factory, a bigger factory, a higher factory, a wider factory, put more machines in your factory. It's an ecosystem, okay? Very important that's understood, because with all that knowledge, you're then able to, again, fly up above the canopy and realise that with that private ownership, either in physical gold, digital gold or blockchain assets, then you're able to go ahead and then start to take control of your own financial future. And again, it's not about being reliant on, or 100% reliant on, bosses, banks and governments. There's nothing wrong with that in itself. We're not in competition with the world. What we are is an alternative to what some of those, let's say, established institutions might represent. It's especially important right now because a lot of the chickens are coming home to roost with regards to what has been going on with that established fiat system since 1971, and now how that is coming to a place where people are being even more affected. By that I mean we've always been affected, okay? Not just our generation but future generations. We're living off a credit card that's going to be paid down by our kids and grandkids. If that doesn't sit morally right with you, then neither would the situation whereby even in your lifetime you're having to work longer and harder to stand still, and you're probably going to head towards a place of rehirement, not retirement. Because in the end, you need money to live, and we're lucky enough to live longer. But the idea is that money protects your future purchasing power. You're supposed to be able to leverage it back to an equivalent purchasing level. And that is impossible if you're 100% reliant on fiat, because fiat will never hold your purchasing power. It's called inflation. And people will say, well, work longer, work smarter, work harder. But at the end of the day, why only work for money when you can be having money work for you? And that's really what you're doing inside the KaratBars ecosystem. You're creating a mechanism on which you can have money working for you. We call it moving right on a cash flow quadrant. It's actually in the I side of the quadrant. You need to read the cash flow quadrant from Robert Kiyosaki. He will explain exactly what that is as in principle, but then he falls short of actually helping people to actually do something about it, because not all of us can go out there and own oil wells or property or hotels. Yeah, that's quite a difficult thing for most people to do, which is why most people don't do it. But KaratBars offers a very simple way for you to be able to acquire income producing assets and then put them inside an ecosystem that's designed to help millions of people all over the world. So what does that look like? Well, what we're doing at the moment, we're building, like I say, the foundation and our own infrastructures inside this system. That's what it is to own gold. That's what it is to own KBC. And we have been working hard, and the company's been working very hard to put things in the world, such as devices and services such as KaratBit and K-Merchant. These things go into the world. So we don't just leverage these things in our own private factories, we put them into other people's factories and other people's businesses, literally, and other people's activities. That's what you use. They're called gateway products. They're used by the world as services and products that leverage the system being powered by KBC and based on the premise of money, i.e. gold. In other words, it doesn't lose its purchasing power. So that's where we're at now. We're pushing things out to the world. Yeah? Now, our journey in doing that, I'm talking to those of you now who have been involved with this project for any length of time, what you've been doing is you've been accumulating position all the way along. Yeah? Now, from 2011 all the way through to 2017, it was a very straightforward thing. You own gold, you continually accumulated gold, and you were able to purchase the rights, called a business package, to go and help other people accumulate gold. That accelerated your ability to have gold. And that's all you do, you're turning energy into gold. And we did that for years and years and years. Okay? Many of you on here did it for much longer than I did. You positioned, you accumulated gold privately, and you leveraged a business system to accumulate gold from your business. Now in 2017-18, that morphed into a mechanism whereby you weren't only able to accumulate gold, but you were also able to accumulate digital assets and actual functionary devices. The phone, for example. Yeah? So the profit packs were all part of that. Now, inside those profit packs were various attributes. The ones that always spring to mind for people are things like the KBC or KCB that then converted to KBC in December. And that's great. And obviously what we saw is a huge spike in demand when that became something that people could get their hands on, because instinctively people feel an element of FOMO when it comes to blockchain technologies. They see an opportunity and they hear information and then they put the two together and they take a punt. Okay? And our job was to ensure that people understood that what they were getting involved with was much bigger than a punt. It was something that they really should have understood and needed to understand in terms of how the thing connects together. Okay? And that's fine. And we're going through a period of time whereby this is not quite met the mark. It's, as per the white paper again, it's not quite met the mark on the roadmap and how things are all connecting together. Okay? However, what you need to understand is, as I said earlier, the company will move and do things that it needs to do to make sure that ultimately it survives and it thrives. So it will make sure that it is able to hold a certain position. For the past at least 8 months, it's been keeping KBC on life support, frankly, because it's been attacked, as you get in blockchain, unfortunately, by people looking to undermine what it is we're looking to achieve. Okay, so there's a lot of energy and effort gone in by this company to keep KBC alive. Okay, despite the plans it had and where it wanted to be by now, it's had to keep the project alive, or the KBC side of it alive. So that's taken a lot of resources and a lot of energy from the company. But inside those packs, you also had a significant amount of other things going on. Okay, you had the ability in the higher packs, for example, to see benefits from owning gold and having that gold traded on your behalf. Yeah. So when I talk about small victories, what you need to be doing, if you were part of that group who were able to accumulate gold at that level, you need to talk about that. You don't need to tell people how much you've got and what you did and everything else, but you need to celebrate the small victories, because that gold came from somewhere, and those victories need to be explained and demonstrated to people. It's called market confidence, because we're not here to apologise for KaratBars. We're not here to answer for them. We're not here to do anything for them other than represent them professionally. KaratBars are big enough to look after themselves. But if KaratBars do something that is of benefit to us based on what they said they would do, then that needs to be shared. Whether you do that belly to belly, whether you do that over platforms like this, is entirely up to you. Like I say, you don't need to go out there telling people what you've done. You just need to share the small victories. Yeah? So just this week that's happened in your business. If you were one of the profit pack owners that were qualified for that, then go and check your back office, because that's there right now. Just as is with those of us who positioned in multi-packs over the past few months. Just this today, actually, in the last 24 hours, we've seen matching gold bonus accrue on our accounts. We've seen e-points accrue on our accounts. And we've seen now the ability for those e-points to be converted back to cash, okay, which happens over this next day or two. So these are small victories that are not designed to put people on the hook and justify things that haven't gone perfectly, but they're there to show that ultimately this thing is working, in the sense that that gold is coming from somewhere, yeah, and it's being put into stakeholders' accounts, just like we get paid every Friday in cash, just like we get paid every first of the month in cash with regards to our uni level. These things are real, they happen, they're affecting real people's lives in a real way. So we've got to get out there and help people understand this, because it comes down to the question of would you listen to a guy on YouTube who's got 2 weeks of experience and he's deciding that he's an expert and he's protecting people from a scam, or would you prefer to talk to people who've been involved with the project for many, many, many years and give them the respect they deserve, because they're not stupid and they're not scammers. They deserve the respect that they have stuck with this, they've positioned, and they've been duly rewarded. And we've just been duly rewarded in a big way over this past couple of days. And that should be the thing that you're helping people see. Not a sales pitch, not to encourage people to do anything, just to show people that there's a reality going on. Because up in the over the canopy in the rarefied atmosphere, there's a calmness, there's a reality that if you can see up there what's really going on with this wider economy, then you're able to see this for what it is. It's much better to have the option of not being 100% reliant on the fiat system than it is otherwise. It's just like it's better to also be part of that system still, have a job, have a bank account, you know, do all the things that are normal in life. It's also good to be in there not 100% reliant on KaratBars. It's a case of being in a position of both, because you want to make sure that you're covering yourself through life and not letting other things affect you 100%. It's perfectly sensible. So people can have all the opinions they want, but at the end of the day, those small victories mean that these things ratchet nice and slowly into place. Yeah? Another little small victory today. KBC has started to go on a little run. Now that's the first run it's had since we've gone on to our own Ethereum smart contract. You need to know this detail, because every time there was good news out of this project for the last 6 months, and there was some very good news I'll talk about in a minute from Harold over the weekend, every time good news comes out of this project and we see the KBC have a go at trying to break through, somebody has doused it with a load of coins and put water on the fire. That's now not possible, okay? Because those wallets have been isolated. So this small, concise, repetitive, relentless stage forward is what denotes the victory. And we have a responsibility, if we're vested, to help people see those small successes. Like I say, you don't need to go out there shouting from the rooftops. You don't need to tell people how much gold you've got, how much KB. Nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with money. It's to do with the concept working. And if you get out there and help people understand that it works, rather than listen to these sharks, then you'll realise that there's an ability for this to take a real impact on real people's lives. So to finish, what does that real impact look like? Well, it's great if you have the wherewithal and the ability to communicate on the internet and even belly to belly and put yourself in front of something and help people position inside a business, and they'll buy up a certain element of that business, a multi-pack in this case, and they'll buy some gold. And then you're able to take an income from that activity. That's great, okay? That's what is called referral marketing. That's like any company. Sales reps talk to people, sales rep talks to that person, they talk to that person, that all connects together. It's called a network, okay? That's how you sell. You put yourself in front of somebody, provide them with a solution or value, and they provide you with something back called an order, and then you provide them with the value and take a profit. Perfectly normal. It's no different in this. We just happen to be talking to individuals on an individual basis about an education process that leads them to be able to take control of their financial future. It's perfectly meritable. It's perfectly fine. But not everybody is obviously completely engaged with that. Most people can come in and say, well, no, I'm interested in the concepts and the project. I just want to take a stake in it. Okay? So what the company does, it knows that there's a market out there, and it knows there's a problem out there. And it knows that it has products that can help solve that problem, the first underlying one being gold. It also knows that there are changes afoot with regards to how human beings communicate and transact and control records and do all these different things in life. And it recognises that the blockchain is a fundamental part of how that future will be managed on those levels. Okay, it's a bit like back in 1990s when none of us had any idea about e-commerce, and we got a wind that this thing called the internet with websites was going to allow us to put our payment details into it and have products delivered to our door. And it was like, wow, okay, didn't think anything of it, did we? And then next thing you know, towards the end of the 90s, companies like Amazon and other companies started to make this a reality with books at the first instance. But it wasn't so much Amazon that was behind it. Amazon were the conduit, the retailer, if you will. But what was behind it was Cisco. Cisco systems. They were the infrastructure that allowed it to happen. Yeah? So that's an example there. Another example in the 2000s was Apple. They used the infrastructure of their own, making the Apple phones. Everybody recognizes Apple phones these days. But back in the day, it was moving from a Nokia, do you remember, to these smartphones that allowed us to then do more things. The infrastructure behind that was iOS, which was Apple, but also millions now of other infrastructure that allow us to do things on these devices. Yeah. Now, what's happening now, and that was Internet 2, by the way, Internet 3, or Internet 3.0, or the Internet of Money, is now where we are. So what we're involved with in KaratBars is not just the market-facing business with market-facing products that actually put Internet of Money into people's hands. We're also part of the infrastructure. We're the equivalent to the Cisco systems. We're KaratNet. And KaratNet is one of the very first blockchain applications that's actually been able to amalgamate in a symbiotic way the function and the means of power, the exchange, utility plus stability. And it's creating now a much bigger entity, okay? Now, this is something that you wouldn't be talking to a new person about. This is something people learn and lean into. The reason I'm talking about this today on this live is because lots of you guys have come into this project in good faith. You've understood there's various stepping stones to go through. You've been strong enough to withstand the buffeting and the changes of direction necessary as things go on in life, no less than what we're in right now. And you're out there doing your best, normally just talking about the gold piece, which is what I'd recommend. Just talk about gold and help build relationships that way. And then you can bring them into this more sophisticated language. Because ultimately what you've got is a situation now whereby all that is coming together on a big ecosystem basis, not just with the coin, not just with gold, not just with KaratBars itself, which is the sales and marketing arm, not just with all these different products and services like TraderBots and KaratNet and the vaults and K-Merchant, etc. Not just all that. What they're now doing is taking this whole infrastructure and enabling that to go out to the world as a global currency, which I can't believe I'm actually saying, but it's an amazing concept in terms of a private global currency. Yeah. Now, what does that mean? Well, many of you might be old enough to recall institutions that I think in America were called community banks. In my part of the world, they were called cooperative banks. Some people know them as credit unions or building societies. And many years ago, a lot of these institutions existed in small communities. The only money they had in them, in that sense, was the money of the community. And the community was then able to lend the money out to other people in the community, using the bank as the repository, to then go and help the community grow. And as the community grew, the people who borrowed the money made money. They came back to the community bank to pay the interest, and the interest was distributed to the money owners in the bank, the community. Okay, which is quite a. It feels like a clever model. It's not clever. It's the origination of banking. What's happened, particularly since 1971, is all that concept has been gobbled up by much bigger institutions. Yeah, which means that as communities, we have much less say in what it is to create value in our own communities, because it's all dictated, and it's gone ultimately now all the way to the very top in something called central banking. Okay, which has been around for a long time, but central banking now controls the whole thing. And it's even more extreme now that you get the banks and the governments colluding in terms of how they can lean off each other to go into infinite borrowing to handle either emergencies such as we've got right now, or any form of lending they need in order to, let's say, sustain society which is reality is about holding power. Okay, so what you've got these days with the blockchain tied to concepts such as KaratBars is an ability for private companies to use those two principles to then go out and create community banking managed on the blockchain, underwritten by gold, but owned by the people of the ecosystem. So in our world, in KaratBars world, what that looks like is the amount of univols that we own, cash gold to univols. So univol is just a digital version of gold. And we hold them on account. And then we're able to use that as the source of money. So we become the source of money, individuals, that resides on the blockchain, that then is used by other people. So in the case of the example of the small community, say a farmer wanted a new piece of equipment, he would buy up that new piece of equipment with a loan from the bank, which was funded by money from the community. As that created value, he'd pay back in fees to the central bank that would then distribute out to the owners of the underlying money. And what we do is we take that univol position to then go out there and create that same effect. And in return, we take a reward. Okay? And it's that this now is starting to morph into. Whether it's something that was originally ordained or not is not that relevant. That is now where this thing is headed. And the point of where we are today is to understand that these things are taking place so that we can celebrate the small victories on our way there to help the company create validity and become more legitimate. We're all looking forward to the audited accounts from the Swiss account. You know, the underwriting of the Karat Pay in physical gold is key to this. That will provide an awful lot of legitimacy. And then we can get out there and back that legitimacy with our own small victories. We're getting paid in gold every single month. We're getting paid for helping people to own gold and accrue gold through the Unilever and through the dual system. We're helping people become private business owners inside an education system. We're helping them to take position in KBC and BTC and UNV so that they can go and distribute their assets into a wider world based on the stability of gold. Okay, so these are the steps, and this is the ability we have if we choose. You don't need to listen to a word I'm talking about. You can completely dismiss me if you want. But the bottom line is that with this knowledge, you take power. And that power is what you need in order for you to determine your own financial choice. It's all about position, leverage, choice. So you feed position. You do that through either fiat coming in and take a position in gold. So you're devaluing currency, moves to gold, money. Or you're able to turn energy into gold by owning a business position and helping people talk to people, which creates a business. And you use that to create gold. You then have the gold and you can push that into any direction you want, which then enables you to leverage the system, not just on the big auspices of what I'm talking about with regards to the community banking concept, but also the idea that we have all these little vehicles to be able to leverage. For example, the vaults, 4 to 15% per annum. Okay, we'll hear about the trader. We already know the gold miner. It's paid out. Just go and look in your back office. All those little 0.1 grams of gold. If you had your gold miner switched on and you've helped people acquire multi-packs, you've accumulated gold. That gold is real. It's there. It's coming to your back office. It's something you can hold on account or you can have it delivered to your door. Okay, very shortly you'll be able to liquidate that gold if you wish and put it on your MasterCard and all these moves. This is all because you've taken position. So there's key messages there, guys. To wrap it up, you've got to see the bigger picture. You've got to fly above the canopy. You've got to understand what your options are. You've got to know why you're here. It's not always about money. It's often about security and protection, longevity, choice, life opportunity. Yeah. If you want to carry on listening to whoever you're listening to with regards to what it is that you represent and what you should be doing with the pension, what you should be doing with this, that and the other. That's up to you. All I'm saying is don't be 100% reliant on that, no matter what your parents or your teachers or your friends or your family are telling you. It's about you taking responsibility. And it only takes a little bit of education. If you've had the education and you still don't believe it, that's okay too. That's okay too. We're all individuals. But if you do understand it, in my humble opinion, you'll realise what it is to be able to leverage assets you own inside a system that's in demand by others, because others have the pain that we want to solve. And the pain, ultimately, is people being under duress, having more want for money. Okay? So this will all connect. While it's connecting, you've got to celebrate the small victories. That's my main message here, guys. Celebrate the small victories. All of us have done this over the years. We've helped people understand that we've built slowly what we've built. And it's all about celebrating the victories, because it's those small steps that people take notice of. People get lost in the big picture. People get lost in the disappointment of things not working perfectly. It's not 75-1. Why has not that happened? Well, there's a whole number of reasons why that's not happened. But it doesn't make the goal any less valid. It just means we've got to work towards that together. That's what a community bank should be. But this idea of being able to run a community bank based on a blockchain that is on gold and helps people globally is just a phenomenal concept. So why would you not want to be part of that? Whatever your beliefs or opinions, well, it's going to happen anyway, because the world's moving that way. The institutions of the world are moving that way. You only have to do a cursory look at what's going on with the blockchain technologies, with MasterCard and Visa and all these other established institutions. Even the central banks themselves. It's happening anyway. We won't be told about it. We'll just be given a new form of card. Yeah? We won't notice that they're managing it on the blockchain. But why would you not be a part of the Cisco underneath the Amazon? If you own that, that's where the real gains are, not just in the customer-facing company. And that's what we have with KaratNet. Okay, so hopefully that was useful, guys. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you on the next video.